Hello and welcome to another episode of Tears Don't Fall, the show where each episode we subject one another to a band's entire discography and then subject you, the viewers, with our very, very biased tiered lists for you to decide whose subjective, I forget the two things. Whose subjective opinion is objectively correct. There we go.
That's the one.
I'm Connor O'Kane. With me as always is my co-host Luke. Ashley.
Welcome, YouTube. Hope you're doing well. You're looking very beautiful today. And the belt is finally home after 5 arduous Tears Don't Fall. It feels good to be warming in the right hands again. And I plan on keeping this one.
Russian bots are responsible for it. I'm telling you.
Votes.
Yeah, rigged. It was rigged. The Opeth vote was rigged. I understand you won by a lot. However, the proof is in the pudding. I won by a lot. This week, I have chosen to take us to Deutschland.
Yes!
To hit up Rammstein. This is a band that I didn't even consider we could do an episode on until like 6 or 7 episodes in. I was like, wait, duh.
Yeah,
Rammstein would be sick. And I've kind of been holding on to it. I think it's a band that we both share an enjoyment of, but haven't really deep dived on their albums.
We've never.
Certainly not their discography. So this will be interesting to see, because I kind of feel, and I got a sense going back into it. I was like, oh wait, I like a lot of these albums kind of equally. Like, it's hard for me to discern which ones I like more and for what reasons. So I'll be curious to see how our rankings kind of pair up.
It's safe to say that Rammstein are have a very consistent brand through their whole career. I was surprised to go back to videos as early as 96 on the Bazaar Fest, which is on the back of their first album, to see Till arms spread, completely on fire, on the back of Herzeleid. Amazing that they've retained their identity and bull out of the gate with such consistency through a full career. It's remarkable.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get into it, what's your history with this band?
My existing history with Rammstein, I first came across them, I used to hear of them, read of them in guitar mags. They're a very popular band, easy to tab, so easy for beginners, and excellent in that way for a guitar magazine, budding interests. But not particularly technical in their works either.
Sure.
So it was more of a beginner's tab. So I learned a few riffs. I didn't have much context for them, and I sort of moved on. They weren't really my thing back in the day. However, maybe 8 years ago or so, I came across Rammstein's Sonne, and I had not heard this track before. And the choirs, the orchestral elements, the sample that terribly pitched on my half, but that's okay. That's why it's sampled. The amount of songs I've heard that in, by the way, it's from some sample pack from like the turn of the millennium. So many EDM tracks use this, but it was the first time I'd heard it, and I was blown away. Hopped. I was just searching so many live clips and diving through Reise, Rosenrot era live videos, and being blown away at the scale of their performances and the simplicity and unique angle that they present metal in. Of course, they market themselves as Neue Deutsche Hart, which is the new German heavy, I believe.
Fuck yeah.
And yeah, they're the only band in the genre that I'm familiar with that branding. I'm sure there are many.
They're dominating.
But they absolutely dominate the Western market in that regard. They're possibly the largest band in metal that sings non-English lyrics over in a Western market.
Yeah, I can't think of like no other band springs
You could
to
say
mind.
maybe of recent years, Baby Metal could have taken that helm.
Not taken it.
But,
contended, but certainly not one out.
Yeah. But yeah, they are an absolute powerhouse. I doubt there is anyone who does not know who Rammstein is that listens to heavy or even heavy electronic music.
Yeah. I think they're a band that you can show people who aren't necessarily into heavy music, who might be into more EDM stuff. Will get a kick out of this stuff.
Yeah. What's your history, Cons?
I didn't really pay much attention or go back through their discography for a long time, but my first experience of Rammstein was when Liebe Ist Fur Alle came out, and there was the kind of controversy around the song Pussy, having the pornographic video, and then around the same time, or not long after, Weidmann's Heil was in one of the Guitar Hero games, one of the last ones, I think the last one, or certainly the last like mainline series entry. And I got right into that album, but never really gave their earlier stuff much of a spin. I think at that point I was set in my ways, in my metal elitist phase.
Yeah.
And wasn't interested in the more electronic leanings of their earlier stuff, and the kind of really kooky elements of
German sense of humor is something.
It's a strange one, man. And I hadn't been charmed by it yet.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until they put out a best of CD made in Germany, and I picked that up on a whim. To kind of go, all right, fuck it, let's get an idea of what this band's about.
Best of is a great place to start.
Yeah. I think best ofs, I don't know in your experience, but in my experience, have a little bit of a stigma about them.
I think rightfully so.
Yeah.
It's a corporate selection. It's whenever, like, you'll always see before a band jumps off a label, there'll always be a best of that comes out, trying to milk that last drip of cash out of the band before they
for sure
fuck off.
Yeah.
So I think they rightfully have a stigma to them. They're often insincere.
Yeah, sure. Well, I don't know how sincere this one was, but it was a great entry point for me.
I think this one is sincere enough in the case of it has a lot of remixes. I don't know the backstory to this one, but
the last track was a new recording at the time, that Mainland track, which is a bop.
Yeah, and it has massive names on the B side. Faith No More, who else we got there?
Yeah. I mean, this is where the
Scooter, let's go.
Scooter, the Ram lead,
Devin Townsend, yeah.
fucking remix, which if you haven't heard is a fucking must.
I believe I said this to you before you really got into Devin.
Yes, yeah, and I was like, what the fuck?
How is this not an official release?
Yeah. It's fucking wonderful.
Yeah. We'll check that. We'll play it after this TDF.
Yeah.
For those in Twitch.
But even after listening to the Made in Germany, greatest hits album, I was like, yeah, this is great. But I don't think I need anything beyond these tracks. This is all I need from Rammstein. So I didn't really go back and listen to Sehnsucht or Mutter in full until maybe 4 years ago. So I was very, very late to the party. But upon doing that, went, oh my god, there's so much more here. There's simultaneously just as much as I thought was on offer here, but also more. There's more if you dig for it. I think they can exist as just a greatest hits band in your head, and be totally fine with that.
Until this TDF, they did, in fact.
Okay.
I hadn't dug through that many Rammstein albums.
Cool.
I had a few that I was comfy with, and that was enough for me.
Awesome.
I haven't had a great understanding of Rammstein's chronology until now, and even then, I'm keen to keep digging.
Yeah.
Find out.
Well,
anyway,
we'll get
spoilers.
into it.
Let's jump into it.
We'll get into it. I just really want to check
chat. I'll just rest this belt nice and close.
Yeah.
Nice and close to my... No.
Can I...
No.
Okay.
No. That's not how
fine.
it works, sweetie.
Sure. No, that's fine. I just wanted...
You got to win that.
I'd had it for a few weeks, and it was nice to...
No. But eyes off the prize, brother.
Flyaway does ask, by the way, what does the belt say?
It says, Luke is cool. Connor has to go to school.
can't believe you got someone to etch that. Nell says, my brother got me into them. I remember sitting and watching various music videos of theirs with him, saying that I know songs, not whole albums. Fair enough. Gary says, grade 3, Sehnsucht dropped. First time I came across these crazy Germans lighting each other on fire and spraying cum on their audiences. Korn and Limp Bizkit were the bands everyone was going on about in my group of friends, so Rammstein was a wicked thing to come out of that era. Yeah, I can imagine being, like, discovering this band being quite the like social leverage in the schoolyard back in the day. Halo 17, Beth says, same as Gary, I was introduced with Du Hast in primary school, fell in love with them, and I think they've only gotten better. They were also my first solo live concert when I was 14. I did not realize how cummy it'd be. That's amazing. Tundra says, can't say I'm the biggest Rammstein fan, but the song Du Hast is pretty fun.
It is pretty fun.
Absolutely.
I think that's it's a 3-letter word, and it says a lot about Rammstein in general.
What?
Could apply fun.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry. Both, man. Same difference with this band, dude.
Maybe that's the same thing.
Yeah. I think
if you say fun backwards, it actually...
and thank you very much for the sub, +8 Mace.
Yeah.
Hope you're well, dude. I thought come, but yeah. All right, well, with that out of the way, let's get into it and let's have some fun.
Everyone, I too thought come.
I must admit. Let's do it. Okay, so we start with 1995.
Yes.
I am going to anybody remotely fluent in German. I'm doing my darndest here. I apologize, but some of these pronunciations, it's going to be a bit rough. But I have done my due diligence and I've looked up some of the translations of the titles, so I'll drop in some fun facts here and there.
Nice.
As best I can.
We are taking this discography to the meat market because we are about to butcher the German language. Apologies in advance.
Yeah. So Herzeleid? Whatever.
Herzeleid?
That's... So let's, meet somewhere in the middle, and you've probably got the pronunciation of this album.
Yeah.
1995. I felt similarly coming to this album as I did about Opeth's Orchid, in that I think for a first album, it's super well realized in terms of the things that you would expect to find in a Rammstein album. Anybody with even like a fledgling knowledge of Rammstein would expect to hear, industrial beats, some samples, big chunky guitars, and the kind of lyric riff.
There's call and response.
Lyric riff, thing.
Yeah,
and voice like this. And this has all of that. The difference, the thing that separates Orchid from this, is that this isn't fucking boring. And thus, I find it really fucking fun, and I'm happy to revisit this album at any time. I really had a blast with this album. I think this and a later album of theirs were the ones I was the least familiar with, and this was a really pleasant surprise. Really, really thrilled with this, and shocked at just how when I've gone through it previously, I've found myself feeling as though there were too many kind of lower to mid-tempo tracks, bogging down the album, and too much unmemorable material, too much fat. But I think I think the title track is a little hit and miss for me, and the ballad, kind of ballady, not ballad, but the slower track, Seaman, which makes me laugh because the first lyric is "Komm in mein Boot," and that makes me laugh because I'm mentally 14.
Very clever.
Yeah. But like for the most part, I mean, the first track is a fucking excellent start
it's a real
to the album.
earworm.
Real earworm. I think it's bookended by two really like band mission statement kind of songs.
Yeah.
Appropriately, Rammstein, the last track, was the first, I think the first song they wrote as a band. And it has that feel where you're like, this is like mission statement, Rammstein,
Yes.
It's really cool.
Yeah. But and they haven't deviated too far.
No.
From that initial mission statement, which is impressive.
And there's heaps of tracks that are still live staples here. Asche zu Asche, Du riechst so good, which is German for you read so good, or you read so well, as we would say. It's not a delicate language. It's not a very good language in my opinion, but you read so well. And he keeps saying
viewership plummets. Our German audience, Connor.
But I find all the tracks to be really fucking enjoyable. I did get stuck in fucking peak hour traffic listening to Das alte Leid.
Yes.
Which is one of the slower tracks,
slower pieces,
and that really fucking soured that song for me. Like being stuck in traffic, just like.
I think Das alte Leid is doomed by being placed after Du riechst so good and being a slower track.
Yeah.
And it has a more rocky feel as well after such a driving front half.
Yeah. Having said that, like Du riechst so good comes in the perfect spot, because if Seaman went into Das alte Leid, I'd be like,
that's a
snooze.
Double snooze. I initially felt that, Connor.
Yeah.
I was not when I
those are my thoughts, by the way. Take the wheel.
Yeah, sure. Certainly. Well, okay, I'll jump in and then I'll give my run through of the album.
Yeah.
All right. Jeez. I'm gonna have to give my mission statement on how I approached this TDF. I attempted, when I first put this album on, to take a more analytical approach.
Yeah.
To break down the parts, look at the structures, the performances,
Sure.
the tones and the like.
And what did you find?
I found myself going, this doesn't feel very purposeful. I don't think they give a fuck.
Rammstein
That's not really what they're going for.
Doesn't want me to do this.
No. And also, I was just having so much fucking fun and having such an emotional response to so much of this material that taking a more analytic view felt like I was shooting myself in the foot. So for the remainder of this TDF, I am ranking everything and discussing everything purely from the facet of emotional response.
Fuck yeah, dude.
I've not done this before, dude. I've started to drag.
This is my approach.
Yeah, Fuck yeah. This is very strange for us, new territory. Please be gentle. This record, when I first put it on, I felt that the flow was very strange. That the tracks only had like 2 or 3 riffs each, and they were all 5 minutes long. And I'm going, like it's cool, but there's a lot of fat that can be cut here. Spinning it a few times, holy shit, this album grew on me.
Yeah,
real hard and fast. I started from an approach of I don't like the order to I'm starting to get it, and I've only started getting it in the last few days.
Yeah, sure.
And this is a really impressive first release. The tones are pretty stinky, but guess what? It serves the album pretty well.
Yeah.
Like the tones are pretty thin, very sterile, feel very like sawtooth.
Yeah.
Tones, and it works on an industrial level. Really nice. Doesn't need many riffs. The songs bang. The riffs are simple but fun. You don't need to. The album doesn't demand much of you, but I demand the album. This album for me, starting off, is landing in a B.
Cool.
For the reason I want to go back to this album, and I can feel myself developing a real strong relationship with this album.
Cool.
To start, I thought it didn't grab me, but I keep going back to it. I'm having so much fun with this release.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
There are many songs not even songs I don't like.
No,
I'm growing a real affinity with this whole album.
That's what I found.
And there's a lot of growth here.
Even the songs that I initially thought snooze, listening to, I was like, these aren't boring songs. They're just like kind of lower tempo tracks, and I'm finding myself initially at least gravitating more to like stuff like Asche zu Asche and
Asche zu Asche is great.
Yeah,
and I had the same thing from initially goes from Asche zu Asche to Seaman. first time I went, I'm not vibing this.
Yeah.
Listening to it today, Seaman's a fucking wonderful song. I really like it.
Yeah, when Seaman
like
kicks in and there's it's got almost like a black gaze
it's got this
kind of guitar thing.
real drony, atmospheric.
Yeah.
I think it's the chorus that's really drony.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Really,
it took
really
me a
got
little
me.
while, but I really, really, really like it, and I can feel myself doing this with a bunch of songs on this album. The more I turn off, the more I love this album, essentially. And this album is
your eyes
helping
get
me
further
turn off.
and further apart, and
It's
your
like
heart
I'm
grows.
developing fecal alcohol. So fecal, fecal alcohol.
Fecal alcohol syndrome. You've already got it, brother.
It's all the shizer. It's all the shizer in my ears. I can feel myself developing at 30, and I'm just like, woo,
so
going
funny.
hammerhead shark. This record is a real sticker, and it has a potential to go to A. I already want to revisit this catalog at the end of the year.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Because right now coming in relatively blind.
Yeah.
Because it does so much. So
You did mention the production, and I feel similarly where it's it doesn't. That's the one aspect of this album that's the most noticeably, I guess, underdeveloped.
it is
Compared to future albums, but I don't think it does not get in the way of-
It doesn't detract.
I find
and I
it
never
charming.
felt like it
I
detracts.
find it-
I find it really charming as
Yeah.
well. And it feels like a real
it doesn't
a
feel
real
like,
statement of industrial metal.
Yeah, and
in
it doesn't feel
95.
like any of the songs could have been improved by the production of Mutter or even Sehnsucht.
No, like
the songs sound how they are supposed to.
Yeah.
I really like it.
Yeah, I think it's adequately realized, and in many other genres of production like this wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Here it does.
Totally.
And I think it's aged surprisingly well, more well than I would have anticipated it.
Yeah, totally. What keeps this from being an S for me is just the few songs that are kind of still sticking out as like, I'd be inclined to skip these if I weren't feeling them. You know, like an S tier album for me, ideally, is something that every track I'm there for. You know,
What's keeping this higher for me is the rest of the discography.
that's true. That too. Yeah. Absolutely.
If this, there's just so much.
Shall we read chat?
Yes, just want to talk about Two Riddick's So Good for a second, because
please.
This song popped up on my Spotify years ago, and the intro. There's one version. There are two versions of this track as well.
Yes, there are. I was familiar with one version. You were familiar with this version.
Yeah, and I think when I first heard it, I sent it over to you. It just blew my socks off, and I was not aware that it was the first time I'd heard anything off this album. And when they pause and bring the riff back, I hadn't. I audibly screamed.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, the man! They did it. Such a good 2-note riff. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And they do that quite consistently. A detractor from this album is that there's not much variety. The first 3 tracks really do the exact same thing thrice over.
Yeah, they do.
They're like in a very similar format. They are pretty interchangeable. As cool as they are, I love all of them. But it really is triplets at the front of the set.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. The Made in Germany version of this song doesn't have the pause. So when you were like, the pause and doing it so good, I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? And then you showed it to me, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
A weird omission to put on your greatest hits thing when that's such a...
That is the hook.
Cheeky
The
hook.
silence is the hook.
It's fucking awesome.
It's so cool.
Yeah. All right, let's have a look at chat here. Guy says, Die Connor, die. And Beth follows up with The Connor, the. Absolutely.
Thank you for the translation.
Big Chungus guitars, fucking A. Beth says, oh man, just a flashback. Have any of you seen The Lost Highway? What a soundtrack. I haven't, although I understand there's some cool shit on there. A lot of people aren't aware of this album. Truly a great start to the band, to what they are bringing to the table during the mid-90s.
Yeah, they're saying we are here.
Yeah.
We're not going away.
Mission statement shit.
Yeah.
And that mission is Rammstein. And people are like,
What does that
mean? But everyone's too fucking scared to ask because look at them, they're terrifying. Look at the cover for this album threw me hard when I first saw it. Threw a lot of people.
Yeah,
they got accused of trying to pose as Übermensch on the front there
with the Unterflower.
Yeah. It's just a summer boy band. This guy. Beth says add Germany to the TK do not tour post slur list with Japan. I don't remember slurring Japan. Although Gary says I just love the sterile guitar tone.
It is, yeah, sterile's the word for it. Yeah, that guitar tone would not work in many places. It excels here.
For sure. And I love it doesn't follow them too far into their career, but the key stuff that like there's somewhere hearing it right now has that it sounds like Crash Bandicoot music.
Yeah.
It sounds like fucking Crash Bandicoot, dude. I love it.
Yeah.
And sits so firmly in that time and place.
Yeah, the orchestra arrangements are very MIDI.
I mean, fucking what orchestra arrangements on this album? I don't.
There are some. There are some.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
in the later half, you've got a few. If we jumped into it,
okay,
pick a few.
Yeah, no, that's all right.
But they're fairly low in the mix.
Yeah, I can't say I noticed them.
Yeah, they're fairly low in the mix.
But hey, that's right. I wasn't
all digital as well.
Okay,
so it's not it's the sort of thing you only would notice going back, and I was sort of looking for it. I was wondering if they had any here, and then I was surprised to see that there was.
Cool. All right. Well,
I'm going, wow, this album actually has all of the hallmarks of current Rammstein.
Yeah. Moving on to 1997.
Yes.
Sehnsucht. Now, apparently this has like 6 different album covers, and apparently the most the most popular one, or the one most associated with this album, is the one with Till. Where he's got like the forks over his eyes and like a whisk over his mouth or something. But this is the one I've always seen and associated with the album. And I feel like this is the most striking. The like whited eyes striking. And stuff. It's so creepy. And I only in looking up stuff for this episode realized that all of the things that they're being covered with just kitchen like appliances and shit. It looks so much more sinister. Like I didn't know that was something from the kitchen. Terrifying. But for me, this is I think for this first phase of Rammstein, if you're to really kind of look for shit to differentiate the eras of Rammstein sound, I feel like this is where they make good on the promise of the first album. The first album has the iconic sound of Rammstein, and this has the iconic songs
and the production. The production is better across the board, and the songs I think are better too, or certainly more memorable. More memorable. Yeah. There are hooks laden everywhere here.
Absolutely.
Where there are only a few riffs in the first album, here there are a lot of melodies that weave in and out, and a lot more variety in instrumentation.
Yeah, I think each song has something.
It feels like there's a calling card.
I identify. Oh, that's this song. It does this.
Yeah.
Which is so much fun. Approaching this as like a more or less like a pop metal record.
Yeah.
Is how I've consumed this album, and I love it for that. I chuck it in an A, another A. Again, just so solid. The first track, the title track, Sehnsucht, has that fucking goofy MIDI key shit we were just talking about, but it's more up front, it's punchier. They're shouting the names of the songs. I don't know what they fucking mean, but I don't care. I just love it.
Yeah, it's absolutely in my wheelhouse. Not being able to impart my own story onto the tracks is really fun. I really like not understanding what's being said, but really German is not that far removed from English, and you can generally, even without being able to speak it, get full phrases.
Absolutely, and like I mean, nowhere is that more apparent, I think, than and looking at the track listing, it is just banger after banger. It's Sehnsucht, Angel Tier, Bestoffen mich, Du hast, and then Buch dich, which obviously is German for best dick. a song dedicated to Richard Rammstein, who the band is named after. It was just kind of tribute to him just being a cool guy. And yeah, which is really cool.
I don't know. I think Flake's best guy.
What's that?
I think Flake's best guy. He takes it so well in Book Dish.
Yeah, he does.
It's great.
I think it has a similar thing here for me where the back half almost starts to slip. There are a couple of tracks that I find myself a little less enamored with, at least on first listens. Spiel mit mir and Klavier didn't do too much for me at first, but I like where they sit. And Eifersucht and Kuss mich, really cool album closers. And what are we looking at for runtime here? 43 minutes.
The albums are neat.
Fucking neat, dude.
Yeah.
I can spin this on repeat all day and not get sick of it. And not find the songs blurring into one another.
No,
I don't kind of, even if I stop paying attention and kind of come back, I'm not like, wait, shit, where am I in the album? I know where I am.
Yeah.
It's a good album to get situated with. I really like it.
I think Rammstein are excellent at making songs almost like characters. There is so much personality to each of their tracks, even if it's a one-dimensional personality. That's easily identifiable because their core sound doesn't have a great deal of variety. But all it takes, it's such a blank slate that all it takes is one new element to really color the track. And here the elements are. Yeah, just a new instrumentation to act as a hook.
Yeah, totally. I mean, Tyr and Angel, in terms of their tempo, and they're both kind of just doing that. But Angel has the whistle and stuff, and Tyr has the acoustic guitar at the start.
Yeah, into the riff. Yeah.
It's fucking cool. You know?
Yeah, it's great.
And I think it does a better job than the first album of having those things stand out as unique identifiers of those songs, so you don't end up with the first three songs being somewhat interchangeable.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think this album is so close to being an A, but there are too many tracks in an album format that are simply weighing it down. For me, this is remaining in the B tier. There are absolutely like S tier tracks off Sehnsucht, and I love the approach. This is I went into the first few albums expecting a little while to warm up and gear up, but each album has a surprise amount of personality for how if you're not that familiar with Rammstein, you might not hear the difference between albums, but going through their discography, there is really quite stark differences between each, and this really feels like a ragtag bunch of misfits of an album. It does mean, once again, the flow really suffers, but each of these albums sort of serves as just an anthology for me. Like, it throws just a bunch of different characters, a bunch of different stories. And they don't always have to flow. The disjointed nature is a part of the ride.
For sure.
That's how I'm receiving it anyway. But it does mean to me that when they do get in their stride and they do make albums with flow, it really highlights and launches those albums leagues above, and that's where Sehnsucht unfortunately falters for me.
Sure.
And at the moment there are too many songs that I simply I'm not gelling with. It's hard to B is no condemnation.
No, of course.
But the front half of the album is so much stronger than the second half. But then again, it's hard to follow up stuff like Du hast and Book Dish.
That back to back. Holy fuck, dude. I do think they have a habit of, especially on these early albums for me, picking things back up on the last couple of tracks. I think Eifersucht and Kuss mich, especially Kuss mich, with the Looney Tunes, fucking cartoon sound effects, really does a lot for me.
That's fair.
It's so goofy and so German.
Yes.
Yeah, froth it. let's see what chat thinks. We got oofed.
And there are a lot of live staples that they've only made better. They've if there was one album to remaster, I'd like to hear this album remastered.
Okay.
I really like the raw approach of the first. I'd love to hear 20 years of experience put back into this album.
Yeah.
Might change my ranking.
Adam says, when Du Hast hooked me in, Tia and Engel kept me there. Gary says, Tia is such a banger on this album. I was really late to appreciating that one for how much it slaps. And Spiel mit mir has the greatest guitar solo of all time,
Ooh,
says Gary. I'm going to have to pay attention.
Yeah, I'll have to go back to that.
Yeah.
Check it.
Definitely here for the right night. Definitely here for this night, says Havoc. Fuck yeah, dude. Welcome. Can we spend 30 minutes just talking about Till's vocal style and how amazing his tone is? It is fucking sick.
Yeah.
And I feel like here the production is serving it far better than it is on the first album. His vocals are noticeably they sound less powerful and a little more goofy, I think, on the first album. Here they take on the gravitas.
I think they build more room for Till's vocals here. There's non-stop riffage in the first, even though they might strip back the guitars and just bass and drums sometimes. Yeah. But here I feel like the songs are arranged with more intent to have the vocalist propelled, rather than riff salad.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Spiel mit mir solo was being sarcastic. My bad. Okay. Yeah. Text. It's a cunt for tone.
Yeah.
Shall we move on?
Yeah. I assume it's like a 2-note solo.
Probably. All right. Well, this takes us to 2001's Mutter, which is very exciting. This for me feels like they're going from strength to strength in my eyes and in my ears, and it feels like at this point in their career they've got the attention of people through their onstage antics and the nature of their sound and how they present themselves. Like they've got everyone looking, and here it feels like they made the effort to have something to present to people, something more mature and something really well realized. They're kind of gone as the sense that they're just fucking around. This is serious as art.
Yeah, there aren't as many Looney Tunes sound effects in this one.
Gone are the Looney Tunes sound effects.
They inserted dead baby.
There's still a bit of the kind of irreverent stuff on tracks like Zwitter, but much darker. Coming out of the gates with Mein Herz brennt, fuck me dead, dude. So tough. And for me, this is the perfect Rammstein album.
Wow,
it's S.
Wow,
for me this is S tier.
Yeah.
I fucking adore this album. I love every track. Similarly to you, I didn't appreciate Sonne until maybe 2 years ago at most, and that's a favorite. And I feel like where the other albums lose my attention a little bit in the latter half, this maintains it the whole time. Mutter is this album's, I guess, ballady or slower paced track. Mutter, of course, it's no mystery. It's on the cover. Is German for Babby, not baby, 2 T's, 2 B's, Babby. And it's an good bit. Thanks, man. It's a real heart wrencher. It's fucking awesome. It's big and emotive and powerful, and it's a sincere side of Rammstein that I don't think they've. If we've seen before, I'll speak personally. If I've seen it before, I haven't bought it up to this point. On this album, I buy it. Yeah. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, there's a sense of doomsay.
Yeah.
What's happening here?
But I mean, those first 6 tracks up to Mutter is fucking ridiculous. And then I think the back half of this album is slightly less memorable on first listen, but really grew on me.
Zvita is
catchy, so much fun, dude. Zvita, and the fucking the chorus has this, like, you can skank to it, dude. It's got this pop punk quality. I fucking love it.
Skankstein.
Yeah, Skankstein. That's what we need. Skarstein. Adios, Runrouse, Nebel. I think Nebel's a great album closer, and it still feels like you can consume this in a pop album, as a pop metal record. But again, it has this gravitas to it. And it's in the production as well. It all sounds huge. Till is King Till here. He's up to this point, I feel like you'd hear the album and go, fuck yeah, then you see him live and go, oh, this cunt's huge. Here he sounds as huge as his live presence illustrates. Perfect fucking album.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
Nice. Yeah, that's an absolute 9 out of 10.
I put it in the wrong spot.
That's
doesn't
right.
matter.
That doesn't matter. Almost perfect.
Almost perfect.
Undoubtedly in the top 100 most influential albums in metal. And I think it would be a crime for it not to live there. But goddamn, we got to hold Rammstein to a high standard.
Do better, Rammstein.
What is this? No, it's a matter of once again the back half starts to taper because yes, that front half is when I'm listening to the front half, I'm looking at this going, how can this not be the S-est S I've ever given? Mein Herz in the Sonne, Ich will Firefly, puts the bang in banger, and was absolutely phenomenal. Links 234. I don't like the track. I've never liked the track.
We've talked about this before. I love that track.
And I think it's criminal that it lives amongst all of those other songs.
I love that song. I love that song.
I don't know. It just hits me the wrong way. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Just the hooks. When I hear the hooks, I'm But Zvita. It's a collection of this feels like a greatest hits album in one album. Again, it's what Rammstein does.
Yeah.
But I think I could have more fun if this album was on shuffle than the original order they put it in. But then again, these tracks live in their own environment. I don't feel like it should be so much consumed in that way.
Sure.
Absolutely phenomenal tracks here, though. And a beautiful album. The physical copy of this is gorgeous. All the photo shoots and the cryogenic tanks and the incubation tanks and like that.
That's something that they really
cool. They have their visual media is unbeatable.
Unfucking beatable, dude. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I've watched that Rammstein Paris live DVD a dozen times in the last year. It's a visual marvel. It's fucking awesome. All right, let's have a look. What does chat think? Oh my god, Mutter, so fucking dark. This was the album that I was in on the ground floor for, says Adam.
Oh, wow.
Fuck yeah, dude. It says now we're at the albums I've actually heard. Pog.
Lots of people that got into this say, I guess not so early. This album is only what 5 albums ago, really. So
well, I mean, 2001. The gap between albums has been pretty significant, especially the last one.
Yeah, but before that, pow pow pow.
Gary says, all I'm going to say is Zvita, heavy song of heavy songs, and that outro with the half-beat drums with the breakdown is so boner-inducing. Hell yeah, boner-inducing is right.
Yeah.
Did we Google any lyric translations while catching up on the Discogs? Said I a little bit. This is the problem. I've done this before with Rammstein. Occasionally, I'll go down a Rammstein hole and I'll want to look up what each song's about.
Yeah,
it fucking goes in one ear and out the other, or like in my eyes and falls out my ears. Like my brain can only hold like so much Rammstein knowledge before it gets pushed out by dick jokes. Does that make sense?
And there are a lot of them.
And there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Till's a legit poet or something. I think even Luke might be right about might give the lyrics a glance.
Yes.
I feel
similarly.
Yeah, I will say
this
every
is a
time
band that I want to know the lyrics about. And after going through these albums, and what's to come, absolutely.
Absolutely. Whenever I do look at the like German to English translation of these songs, I am because listening to these songs, it just sounds like they're saying the name of the song in like a kind of marchy chant. That like it sounds like there's not much to it, but when you read the translations, you go, "Oh fuck, this is."
I feel that's
quite beautiful.
That is Rammstein to a T. They are a band to me that feels so. You lift the hood and you see a few simple gears, and it's quite apparent that there are only a few parts at first glance, but it's what those parts do. It's amazing at what they can arrange with the simplicity that they present. I'm keen to continue delving on that. That's something that's really wowed me and has really romanticized. It's really wooed me.
I feel similarly, especially about Till as a dude and as a performer. The fact that he can write lyrics that have such beauty in some songs, and then other songs where the subject matter is much darker or much more grim, use that same talent to turn stomachs is really fucking cool.
And have that ability to be so to pivot between reverence and irreverence. On a dime,
and present them kind of with the same straight-facedness.
Just standing there. Legs straight, hands behind back.
Shoulders so fucking tough.
Shoulders squared, head up.
And only when he sees fit will he do the till punch,
hammer.
the till hammer. Back to chat. Guy says, "Why isn't the baby pogging?" Yes.
Wait, that's I've been saying this for 20 years now.
If this album was released now, trust us, the baby would be pogging. Sed says, Links 234 is German for left, and was their response to constantly being barraged with "You're German, you Nazis" questions. I think that there's a lyric
and
that translates loosely to like "my heart beats for the left" or something like that.
They've alluded to this with numerous releases, right? They've done whole videos of them in camps.
Well, the thing is, in interviews and stuff, people say, "Are you Nazis?" And they go, "We are not Nazis." And just that accent just makes you go, "Are you though?" No,
it's a
we promise.
Something that that definitely is carried with them through their career, and I think no matter which way they color it, it can always be taken in bad faith. It's the nature of being in a spotlight,
for sure.
And it's unfortunate.
Sed says, "Not the most banging tune, but I appreciate that element of it."
Totally.
I appreciate that element of it, but I also think it's a banging tune. Gary says, "Till is the daddy of daddies." Absolutely.
It's insane. In my mind, Till is one of the most attractive people alive.
I would love to have that Till bod, dude.
And
huge.
When I think I was showing, I was looking at mugshots of Till. And I was shocked when I was looking like just the head by itself without the rest of everything that makes up the person that is Till Lindemann. I'm going, wait a minute, that is one absolute scone. It looks like you've headbutted a tram, mate. But the confidence that's carried and the commanding, confident aura that he has, the creative presence, is all so powerful that that scone just becomes so beautiful.
Fucking A, dude. I love that scone. He's got these piercing eyes too.
Is it?
All right, let's settle down, man. It's winter and I'm sweating here. All right, let's jump ahead.
Absolutely.
Next album takes us to 2004. Sees the release of Reise. Now, this album for me, and this point for me, is where things see a slight step down in terms of my interest in these albums. This sits at a B for me. But I will say, this of the albums in this discography has the highest chance of pivoting for me. I found on first listen, I thought this is an album of A to S tier tracks bogged down by a lot of C and B tier material. I thought, like, obvious standouts being Reise, Mein Teil, Keine Lust, America's fun. America's a lot of fun. Stein Stein, fucking huge track, and Ohne Dich being I think their best ballad track, their best more somber track, and a very, very emotive tribute to the aforementioned Richard Rammstein. He passed away in the lead up to this album. It's one Dick, one Richard.
One Dick, 7.8 billion hearts. Yeah. And I think Amour is a great album closer as well. However, I haven't fully come around to Dalai Lama, Loss, Moscow doesn't do much for me. Morgenstern, that's grown on me a lot. Last couple of listens, I've found myself really, really digging that song. Yeah.
And Amour didn't do much for me on first couple of listens, but I'm finding that growing on me as well. So I think this could jump up to an A. But in the interest of kind of going, all right, where is my head at the moment, and leaving room for that pivoting, this sits at a B for me for the time being.
Yeah, all right, good. I'm glad we have some real points of difference here.
Yeah, sure.
Because Reise, we are out of here. No bits, only blitz. This is a fucking S. Here it is. Wow. Here is my definitive Rammstein album. This album has 0 songs that are below 9 out of 10. It is just straight fuel from beginning to end.
Wow.
And it's going through this again has been a treat. There's nothing here. I appreciate every second of this record. What
am I missing?
What are you missing?
Yeah, what am I missing here?
I don't.
What do you get out of this album?
What do I get out of it? I feel that this is such a romantic piece. It's where you say Mutter is the dark one.
Yeah.
I feel that Reise is really showing their serious hand. This is their like coming of age, their maturity as a band. Where each album has been progressively stepping. To me, this is not the most serious record.
Yeah.
But to me, the perfect cross section of their evolution and progression into more orchestral, more serious, but also holding their at times they can still have their more irreverent moments.
Yeah, sure.
But there is, when I look at this track list, this has 11 of my 20 favorite Rammstein songs.
Wow.
It's an incredible release, and though Mutter may be most people's favorite Rammstein album and the most influential, this is my Superman, dude.
Cool.
Where Batman's for everyone else, this is for me.
Yeah.
It's an absolute treat. Reise, the first time, though, this is maybe the first track I saw Rammstein perform on video after looking at Sonnet, and I was so encapsulated by it. The track will always take me back to the first time I heard it, and it's such a beautiful piece.
Cool.
It might be one of their most melodic albums.
Yeah, I would buy that.
And all of the melodies are so haunting. There's a deep sadness in this album through Ohne Dich, Reise, and then on the other side you have America. Some of the songs you said that didn't hit for you, like Moscow and what was it, Dalai Lama?
Yeah, Dalai Lama. Loss didn't do much for me initially, but I do like the acoustic guitar with the like the stompy kind of beat under it.
Yeah,
that is a cool touch, and it's growing on me. Yeah,
it's it's my perfect Rammstein album. As I said, like, I'm taking this from such an emotive response that it's hard for me to quantify why, and I usually hate that. With Rammstein, I'm just feeling, I just want to bask in it. It's an unusual feeling for me.
Yeah.
To just say because
That's fair. I said this will probably this is the most likely to pivot for me. That's partially because of your ranking of it. I go, oh well, is there something? Is there something I'm missing here? And I feel like
I'm surprised to see this at a B. To me, this is by like if this album didn't exist, Mutter would be an S. But this album solely by itself pushes the rest of their discography down a rank on my listing.
Wow.
It is that far above everything else for me.
Wow.
It's monumental effort.
All right. I'll definitely have to give this another considered listen or three.
It was probably the album I was most familiar with going into this.
I was going to ask that.
And hearing that. So I definitely would have a bias here, but I've only come to love this record so much more. And by all the TDFs we've done, there have been albums I've been familiar with and then been wowed by new stuff and put it higher. And even though they've been my favorite.
Yeah.
Here, this is just platformed. My understanding of Rammstein as they through their progression now is only making this even more of a celebration. Of this cross section of their career. It's a masterpiece.
That's really cool. I was curious to know if this was one that you were familiar with beforehand.
But Mutter also was, and I was certain that Mutter would live alongside Reise as an S, if not above it. But this is a celebration of the band for me.
Beautiful. Oh, that's awesome. Let's have a look here at chat. Till is my old man goals. I will be real, says Brandon. Fucking hey, dude. 1000% Till has the gender. It's his whole presence is just straight up Till and no one else. That's it. Oh, he was supposed to compete in the 1980 Olympics, but got injured.
That's horrible.
Someone bonked his scon, and that's his origin story.
That's how it all happened.
Tundra says, I will say, this has made me a little more intrigued to dive into the Rammstein discography, so that's something. Fuck yeah.
So. It's good to hear. Thanks, Tundra.
I think there's plenty. They're a deceptively simple-looking band. I think you can be fooled into thinking, there's funny German stompy band.
But every time, I feel that it's like the simplicity is so deceptive. I'm peeling layer after layer here, and I'm stripping. I feel like I'm stripping myself bare, getting more of an understanding here. I'm just like naked in front of this discography. It's really overwhelming.
That's how Rammstein wants you to.
And it's remarkable.
Yeah, that's cool.
I've become such a fanboy. Like, now that I'm dropping my first S, I've become such a fanboy of Rammstein over the last few weeks, and I just feel like a baby in front of them.
Oh, that's
cool.
And
I want to learn everything there is about this band.
I think I've found myself romanticizing them more and more in my head.
The way you felt about Devi when we first hit. Right
absolutely.
Now, that's how I'm feeling about Till, Flake, and the rest of the game.
That's cool.
I'm so excited to deep dive into Rammstein in the next few months.
Yeah, fuck yeah. So it says on a dish means own a dish.
Wow.
You're going to want to check your Deutschkenary there, said. Gary says, came across a fun fact with the song off this album. Dalai Lama lyrics are basically about a plane going through a storm. Called it after the Dalai Lama due to the fact that he has a fear of flying / really hates flying. I did read that. Also, apparently, the artwork and the kind of concept behind this album was inspired by a horrific fucking plane crash. And they mentioned here, Gary and Beth have also mentioned here, the hidden track on the album is like the last 30 seconds from a black box recording of that plane crashing. I haven't heard it. I was considering, I was earlier today read that and went, maybe I'll listen to that. But occasionally like, I know when I'm in the mood for real world horror shit, and I just wasn't in the mood today. I thought, I don't know how this is going to affect my mood.
Yeah.
So I didn't listen to it.
Yeah, to me, this proves, like, just shows how many layers Rammstein, or how that Rammstein is capable of so much more than dick jokes.
Yeah, of course, yeah. I think too, just on that, the recording thing, I think occasionally, depending on what mood I'm in, certain stuff will really, I'll go like, oh wow, they did X, they took inspiration from X horrific fucking thing, and I get really interested in it, similar to, you know, listening to like true crime podcasts or stuff about serial killers and stuff. And other times I go, oh fuck, that was a real thing. Those are real people whose lives were torn apart, and it feels a little perverse. And I think that would be part of their intention. I think with that sort of stuff is to present that stuff in this format as entertainment and have it hit people however it hits people. I don't think they do it to be I don't know, disrespectful.
Yeah.
But occasionally, you know, I'm not in the mood for that stuff.
Yeah.
Totally fair, says Beth. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Moscow didn't do it for you? No, it didn't. It felt like
so good.
Yeah, it didn't. I wanted it to do something for me, and what it did, I don't know. I didn't get as much into it as I thought. Rid says, I've never been a big fan of Rammstein because I've always just seen them as a one-off gimmick. I would.
They are easy to take that because of their. I think they market themselves with such gimmicks.
Yeah, I don't think they've done anything to like.
I think they truly embrace the gimmick.
Yeah,
and it's deceptive.
Yeah. I think they want people to go, oh, there's nothing to this, because they know there's much more to this. Shall we move on? Okay, so jumping just a year ahead takes us to Rosenrot. Now, fun fact, the artwork here is either the exact same artwork or a very similar piece of artwork for the Japanese version of Reise. And I don't know what the ship there is stuck in. I wish they'd been sailing the seas of cheese, because then maybe it'd be a little bit more interesting. For me, they might as well be frozen in dishwater, because this is dull as fuck, dude. Rosenrot, dude. Snooze. No, I will say, I will say before you fucking slap me, I think this starts off reasonably strong. Benzin, Man gegen Man, and Rosenrot are cool tracks, and then it just fucking falls apart for me. And those three tracks feel like my first impression of this album is this just sounds like material that wasn't good enough for Reise, slapped on an album with some other shit. And looking into this album, this has at least 6 songs that were B-sides from Reise. This album does nothing for me that their other albums don't do leagues better, in my opinion. So I'm the least likely to revisit this album. At this point, I have no interest in going back to this album. And I feel like it's reflected in how this album was promoted. It was basically not promoted by the band. And in terms of live staples, I feel like I've only seen the only track they play on that Paris DVD is Man gegen Man. Every other album they hit 2 or 3 tracks from at least. This feels like a directionless, almost uninspired stinker in their discography to me at this point. And your face indicates that you don't feel similarly, and I hope you can convince me otherwise. Maybe after this, I'll go back to it with a slightly different lens because this really did nothing for me.
Oh, wow. Rosenrot, for me, is on the cusp of S. It is only not an S because I'm not familiar enough with it yet.
Wow.
It is sitting at the highest A. It is above Mutter. This is
Christ.
A fucking wonderful record.
Wow.
It is the most cohesive record in their discography. You say it's not cohesive? I think it is.
No. I didn't think it was incohesive. It's cohesively fucking boring.
It is their most. It is their darkest. It is their darkest record, without a doubt. They have this increase from Mutter to Reise to Rosenrot.
Yeah.
Feels like this is the cross section between them brushing off the dick jokes and the sex jokes and talk and discussing tragedy. And like this has gone all the way to fucking tragedy.
Yeah, sure.
That much is true because
I'm agreeing
it is
with
such
you.
a heavy record.
Okay.
Yeah.
For me, it comes off as dreary, and it just does nothing for me.
I was having a lot of vapored fun with Rammstein, and up to this point. I'd enjoyed everything I heard, but I had fairly middling opinions. I might have ranked everything a little lower in their catalogue.
Yeah.
Once I heard Rosenrot, I could not stop fucking crying, dude. This is what gave me the emotional response.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh my god.
I fucking love this record, man. Fucking hell. Oh my god. It's like I have not been so overwhelmed by a record in a long time. And this is the record that made me just throw out anything else out the window, because this has given me such I am fucking crushing on Rammstein because of Rosenrot.
Wow, holy fuck.
This is
that's great to fucking hear, dude.
Yeah,
that's
it's an exceptional record.
Yeah.
The pacing's awesome, and the big stars here are not Man gegen Mat. Schick Necht von mir, Don't Die Before I Do, is the ER of Ohne Dich was one of my favorite Rammstein tracks. This blows Ohne Dich out of the water.
Oh wow.
It is monumental. Such a sad album. Holy shit. And then like briefly picked up by Tek on Puta, which is a fucking sick track. I'm very Spanish.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, it's such a heavy album. There's not much that I so often want to turn off. My brain to just consuming music for just through a purely emotional lens, and this album finally did it.
Fuck yeah, dude!
Hell, it's so good.
Oh, that's really awesome. I'm glad you got that out of this album. I'm glad you got something out of this album, because I really didn't.
So much.
And I will say, I think.
Oh man, I cannot listen to this album without crying.
I'm so sorry.
I'm glad we both can't listen to this album without crying. For very different reasons.
Yeah, my first spin of this, I was so fucking disappointed by it. And each listen, it didn't do anything more for me. I didn't find myself feeling any warmer towards it. I didn't get anything out of it.
Completely.
I think I'll have to. Wow, I think I'll have to.
Everything before and after it.
I had no intention of going back to this album anytime soon, but seeing how disparate our opinions are and our rankings are, I'm interested to go back to it with this in mind.
Fuck.
If only to save the friendship.
No, I'm happy to hold. I'm happy to hog this and keep it to myself.
Hey, yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, totally.
That's fine. This can be my little treasure.
Absolutely. It
was after hearing that this also propelled Reise so far above Mutter and made the Mutter feel like a sort of half breed between the serious and not serious of Rammstein, and I like both flavors. But this one really took the wind out of me.
Yeah. Well,
and blew a lot of wind into my sails.
Very interesting. All right, well, let's have a look here. It's an icebreaker in the Arctic. Oh, sorry, Antarctica. Primers for next TDF with that Seas of Cheese reference.
Yeah, baby. That's a lot.
It says, Worbist Du had so many good sooks to it, but can't name much else from it with any personal anecdotes, really. Man Gig and Man Gay People Anthem. Fuck yeah. Most divided U2 I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I feel like this and
there was
what was the
there was something on In Flames.
No, Muse. I'm thinking
The Resistance.
The Resistance.
Yeah.
I have been reading 1984. I am going to re-listen to that album with that in mind and see.
How do you feel
changes.
waking up for the first time, Connor? Are you finally awake?
Fine. No, I feel like I've been awake for a while and I'm just fucking tired. Anyway, Gary says, this album is truthfully the one I've spent the least amount of time with and I do need to visit properly. Hey, do so with this in mind, man. Luke, I owe you a hug next time we see you.
Oh.
Yeah, lovely. I bet Connor's feeling pretty bad right now. As he says, this album is the most I also go back to, but I always find when I'm in a head mood of thinking about nothing, listen to this album, it hits harder. Okay. Has there been a more divisive one than this? Yeah, I would say the only other one that springs to mind would be the Muse one.
Yeah.
Stimmt nicht wohl mehr was the song I actively dislike in their entire discography, including Rotter Sand / Rotter Sand, but sadder, Rotter Sand, but boring. I don't know how I was supposed to read that. I think I butchered that. I was going to say Connor was looking pretty woke today.
Yeah. And Iowa, that's a good point.
Oh, yes, Iowa.
Yeah. So definitely had some wars. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, man. After hearing this, I've been feeling so emotionally charged.
Cool.
It's like that's what stopped me from saying anything else about this discog in that way, because I have just pivoted so hard.
Wow.
And
yeah, you've kept your cards close to your chest on this one, dude. I had no fucking idea.
This is the moment when I heard this. I God, fuck, the game's changed.
Wow.
It was actually the last album I hit. I
didn't go
jumped to
chronologically for this one.
I did up to Reise, and then I was like, "There's dinner."
Yeah.
And I think I was on my way to work, and I just chucked a few albums on. It was
sure.
So this was actually, this is definitely the last I hit, because in part I think it's because it had the least interesting or the least engaging cover.
Yes.
And also I never hear people talk about Rosenrot. And even the chat response seems that
so crazy.
No one really...
Yeah, all of the stuff you're saying, I'm like, yes, I feel that. I felt the exact same. I felt like this was the least engaging artwork for me.
Yeah.
It was, and listening to it, I went, oh, this is why we don't talk about Rosenrot. But again, I'm hearing everything you're saying, and I would love to experience even a modicum of the joy that you felt.
I wish I could put it in a more objective light.
Luke, your tears say more than words ever could.
It's rare for me to have a fucking feeling, cunt. Okay.
Can I borrow a feeling? All right, let's move on.
Yeah, dude.
This takes us to 2008 or 2009. Let me just double check that. Do your fucking homework, cunt. 2009. Liebe Ist Fur Alle da. Now, this is the album that I was in on the ground floor, more or less, for. I again heard the controversy about pussy, and had heard Weidman's Heil and was like, this is pretty sick. And I think this was
maybe the ground floor for me.
Far, by and large, I think this is their most overtly metal release. And this is the album that I spent the most time with. This is the album that I'm the most familiar with. And where Mutter is what I think is the perfect Rammstein album, this is my favorite Rammstein album, dude.
Okay,
This is S.
wow.
This is S.
Wow.
Based purely on like that's why I asked if you were familiar with Reise before
Yeah.
coming to if that was the one that you had the most familiarity with.
Yeah.
Because this is kind of the same for me, where this just hits
Right.
ticks every fucking box for me. Everything I want from Rammstein here and more. There's not a dud on here. There's not a track on here that I don't get excited to hear. It has the same thing that we talked about with Sehnsucht and I think Mutter as well, that there's like a unique, like, identifying thing to each song. I love the way it's paced. I really don't dislike a thing about this album. This is my favorite Rammstein album.
Wow.
By far. I feel like the sweet qualities of Rammstein are here, and they're sweeter than ever on Frühling in Paris and Rotterdam. And the heavy aspects are heavier than ever. Fucking Vienna Blut, musically and lyrically, so dark and fucked up. The of course inspired by the Fritzl case. Basement Dad, is that what they called him?
I think
Someone
they just
did?
called him. Yeah. There was many names. Yes.
Horrifying shit.
Yeah, Monster.
But
The book that was written
really
after him.
fucking horrifying shit. Gobsmackingly heavy track. The title track does not let up. Pussy offers the kind of goofy, irreverent side of Rammstein. I think it's hookiest, most easily enjoyable.
Oh yeah,
accessible.
that's a
way.
snackable song.
It's such a snackable song, but it's still Rammstein in that it's called Pussy, and the music video is body doubles of them, like having sex on camera. It's still it's like, yeah, we can do accessible here. Access it, and people are like, no, fuck off. It's fucking awesome. And
the
I feel
special
like
edition of this album has to be mentioned also. The collectible dildos.
I had no idea. Collectible dildos.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
the special edition came with a briefcase and a gel mold of every band member's cock.
That's so fucking cool.
Yeah.
Collect them all. I don't think a single song on here misses for me, and I think it's paced wonderfully for my tastes. And I think it does a similar thing to what the first album does, in that Herzeleid opening track has this huge presence, and just has them saying Rammstein, and you're just like, fuck. And this being the first Rammstein album I ever consumed, I went,
really cool concert opener.
I went, this is Rammstein. And still, I haven't visited this album in a long time before doing this discog. And when I got to this album, I was just like, oh no, this is still Rammstein to me. I love this album. I didn't feel like I had to make concessions or anything. It was just a purely emotional response to this one. I love it. I adore it. I still remember sitting in like year would have been year 11 English, listening to Frühling in Paris on like with my earbuds like snuck under my school jacket. I had long enough hair and a beanie that I could hide my headphones, and I was just sitting there in a class where I had no friends, listening to that song and just being taken away. I adore this album.
Nice.
Yeah.
To me, Liebe Ist Fur Alle feels like a spiritual successor to Sehnsucht. And I don't know if that's intentional or even true to others, but in the way that these songs they go back to a less serious approach after they've gotten more and more grim for a few albums. This is a more mature interpretation of Sehnsucht with a far higher production, but the way that they characterize the songs with unique instrumentation feel similar to that approach. Except it doesn't do it as good as Sehnsucht. It is probably my least favorite Rammstein album, and the one I would want to listen to the least, because every other Rammstein album feels like it has a unique selling point, and this feels like it's doing Sehnsucht, but just not as catchy.
That
is Sehnsucht's best That's like its USP.
Oh, man,
and this
no,
is coming into its turf.
I disagree.
I think it's the only time that that Rammstein is releasing an album that doesn't hold its like a unique identity. And I feel like Herzeleid is the most metal album, not this one. I think Herzeleid has the most straight up metal riffage.
Wow, I disagree so profoundly. Like I think like Sehnsucht sounds so it's industrial, like it sounds EDM inspired, it's dancey, and it's so I use this term not in a negative way, but just I think it is dated. It sounds so dated. This sounds
that's why I like Sehnsucht Remastered.
Right, okay. This has a kind of timeless quality to it for me, I think. Yeah. And where I say this sounds to me like the most overtly metal album of theirs, I think that's in the drumming. So that might be something that I'm picking up on that you're not, just because I tend to gravitate to that.
Yeah.
The use of double kick, especially on Weidmann's Heil, the fucking that like really really cool double kick.
From here on out, they are getting more complicated with their rhythms, which is new for Rammstein.
I feel like every track on this has something unique about it that makes it stand apart. For me, I feel like we're listening to two different albums here. Like, I guess similar to how you feel about Rosenrot. Like,
I've come to love the darker side of Rammstein so much that I never expected to find value to that extent in Rammstein. To me, before this, they were a gimmick band, but a gimmick band with that was a marketing monster, a magnate. I think in their current tour, their tour cost about $126 million or something, and like to transport their full rig, their live rig, all around Europe, if not beyond, into intercontinental waters. And I think they took it through the US as well. Just absolutely insane scale. I digress. It's the album I've probably spent the least amount of time on. And I had not listened to this album before this TDF.
Okay.
But I'd also have the same for Herzeleid, Sehnsucht, and this is the one that's I feel like there are the songs that have hooked me the least. Is that Rotersand towards the end?
Rotersand is the last track. It
does have, I was listening to a special edition of this, which doesn't really count, but they riff on Rotersand a hell of a lot towards the end there. And it's a really cool hook. That's probably my favorite part of the album. Is not I go my favorite part of the album is when it ends, but I think it's a really nice closer. I really enjoy that. Pussy is great. Nothing Rammstein does up to this point, at least, is below B, and that's more than I can say for any band I've ever TDF'd.
Hey, totally. Certainly any band I've picked for the fucking TDF, dude. Jesus, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So if I'm savaging you on a B, then so be it.
No, totally. It
might be that I'll spend more time with this album and develop more of a relationship with it. At this point in time, I'm feeling that it has a similar characterization to Sehnsucht in the tracks.
Sure.
But I'm enjoying that one.
Okay, sure. I hope you do find time to give
like
this another
2 weeks when we're going pre-tour. We've got a lot of music in my ears. I've got a lot of songs to learn and all the rest. So it's hard to devote so much time in 2 weeks to
and that's half the fun of this is
like this is my knee-jerk going. I gave this probably this album thrice to really be certain that it was that I wasn't really missing something, and yet here we are.
I'm telling you, you're missing something. I adore this album.
Right on.
Let's have a
cool. Well, it looks like we've got a lot of work to do after class.
Sed says it has High Fish and Ich tu dir weh on it. Good release. Ozzy says, fuck yes, this album, that's all. Gary says, totally understand that this is your favourite album, Connor. It's Def's a contender. Vienna Blut is probably my fave off this album. The dynamics and build up to the heavy chorus, and it brings it straight back down for the second verse, just giving a taste of what's to come.
And I didn't mention the production. The production on this is fucking crazy.
It's stellar.
That is true.
It's insane.
The production is so large.
Yeah.
Like you really... I feel diminutive in the face of what this album offers in terms of dynamic range and scale.
Yeah. Oh, I still remember, like, I was going for a walk from my house up to, like, the local shops, with my headphones in, age, 15, and hitting play on this for the first time, and the way Rammstein starts, it's so ominous, and then just like, rum! I was like, fuck me! Yeah. It's so cool. What Sed says, I would love to sing along to Rammstein with you cunts drunk.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Rammstein karaoke night, dude.
That's what Rammstein always was for me.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can go back. We'll see. I'll be crying every time I listen to Rammstein now.
Listen to Pussy just like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. I have a dick
too small. Geez, I don't know whose side I'm going to vote for at the end. I generally hold all their albums in pretty high regards, I said. The riffing on Rammstein is what made me sick of it. As a very annoying person who learned to whistle as a kid, I usually don't get so turned off by whistle intros, but this one just does. Fair enough. I like it.
Wow. That's it. Yeah, look, it does play that riff quite a lot.
I really like it. All right, well...
Let's move on.
Before we move on, I will say I wanted to mention the gap between releases here. The gap between Reise and Rosenrot was 1 year. The gap between Rosenrot and this, 4 years?
Yeah.
I feel like I interpreted that as them going, we shit the bed with Rosenrot, or not shit the bed, but we've mined that.
Okay,
for Avenue. Let's come back.
Okay.
Let's go back to the drawing board. And I think they came back with this is a renewed sense of vigor and excitement about this album. I
find this album so hard to place. Like the first 5 albums follow such a consistent gradient, and I don't know. This doesn't seem. I don't know how they platformed from Rosenrot to Liebe Ist Fur Alle and onwards. I feel they've where have they gone? I don't know.
Well, let's talk about that, because 10 years go by and we get the self-titled album. Naming like an album self-titled this far into your career is always a
you're like, it's over, boys.
Yeah, I'm always like, ooh, that's bold. To put something out and go, this is Rammstein. This is, Halloween just did it. And I'm always curious.
It sets an expectation for the listener. That's for sure.
Yeah, totally.
And if it isn't a masterpiece, you just go, oh, no, you're left a bit wanting.
Yeah. So 10 fucking years between Liebe Ist Fur Alle and this album. Had expectations or my desire to love this album and to feel as strongly about this album as I did Liebe Ist Fur Alle was very strong. And I'll say when it first came out, I was just thrilled to have more Rammstein. I think the first this falls into kind of old habits for me in terms of Rammstein, where it does a similar thing to their first few albums, where I think the first 6 tracks are really fucking solid, and then the back half leaves me wanting. At the moment, I may spend more time with it and feel differently. But I haven't listened to this album since it came out, and I kind of hoped that coming back to it, I would have a newfound appreciation for the back half.
Yeah.
And I didn't. So this sits at a B for me at the moment. I think everything up to Puppe is really fucking strong. Shut your fucking mouth. I think Puppe does a similar thing to Vienna Blut, which, but I like Vienna Blut more, where they both do the thing with the shifting dynamics build to this really, really heavy, kind of scarily aggressive and dark chorus. And it is pretty fucking nuts. The first time you hear the chorus for this and it's just drums until shouting, it is really, really impressive. But I think I like what Vienna Blood does a bit more. And it sits in a similar spot to the track listing for Liebe Ist Fur Alle for me as well. So I kind of can't help but make that comparison. I think the first up to that track, it's like this mixed bag of just weird, wacky Rammstein shit.
And really fun.
And really
fun.
And then Was ich liebe, Diamant, Weitweg, Tattoo, and Hollemann.
That's amazing how fast it snaps.
Very similar. Yeah. Very similar song lengths, very similar feeling songs. I was going to say similar tempos, but not quite. Tattoo is kind of up tempo, but it doesn't have the energy or the sense of fun that any of the tracks on the first half of the album does. It's a real tonal shift, and I kind of find myself wishing they'd gone one way or another, or found a way to pace it in a way that made it feel like a little less of a snap. I don't know. It kind of gets in the way of my ranking this as highly as those other albums. I still wouldn't rank this any lower than B, and I still really like the album, but I like the consistency of Sehnsucht or even Herzeleid more than this. This sits alongside Reise for me. And I will say it's taken me until this afternoon to kind of notice what those last three tracks do differently from one another. They do different things. I was really under the impression that they were three of basically the exact same tempo, exact same feeling songs, because I just couldn't recall them. I acknowledge that they do different things. It's not the same song over and over, but I still couldn't tell you how any of those songs go. I really couldn't, and that's not great, you know?
Yeah. For a band that sat on this album for 10 years.
Yeah, I think.
And granted, they were it's not like they weren't busy. They were playing.
Absolutely.
Festivals for 10 years straight.
Yeah,
they didn't take a lot of time off. They were just constantly busy being a headliner for 10 years.
Yeah.
Without a new release.
And they could,
really
on the back of this, just on the strength of those first 6 tracks alone, they could take another 10 years just playing like the best of some deep cuts from their discog previous to this, and any of those 6 tracks, they could write another 10 years on the back of this album.
Osnaza is one of the greatest songs in their career. Undoubtedly.
I hold this to... I'm more critical of this because they are fucking Rammstein, dude.
Yeah, totally.
If
they
any
have
other
this
album
catalog
put this out, if any other band put this out, you'd be like, holy shit.
Yeah.
It is. It's not without its real shining tracks.
Yeah.
Without its pearlers.
Absolutely. The first.
But I'd be lying if I said it excited me as much as Mutter or Liebe Ist Fur Alle.
Yeah, the first 6 tracks are great. Sex is the 5th track. Sex is one that I sort of grew on, or I came to like simply by how often I would spin Auslander. It was the riff of the year. It was the song of the year for me.
Oh my god, that cheeky.
It's so good. It refines, dude. It's so good. And it's a monumental piece. The album opener, incredibly powerful album opener. But yes, I do echo your sentiments, Connor. And for the first time in 7 albums, we shake hands. Hey!
Right,
and we actually managed to rank an album the same.
Wow, no tears over the self-titled. That's good.
Yeah, dude.
I feel like we both get the same, at least at this point, the same kind of amount of enjoyment, the same kind of enjoyment from this album.
I'm shocked that we didn't hit a single album the same up to this point.
Yeah,
I'm really surprised.
That's rare.
Yeah, and I think it's been 2 weeks in a row as well. We had that with Opeth. There are very few albums that hit the same.
All right, well, let's have a look here.
I can't say
shit the bed with Rosenrot.
Watch your mouth.
Tundra quoting me on
Watch
that
your
one.
mouth, Tundra.
This album is my personal favorite, and I claim is their best, says Gary. Holy shit!
Wow.
Sid says I really like Rammstein 2020.
The production
Super
once
dancey.
again is amazing.
Yep.
However, a good production, a good album does not make. Although all four of my of these albums sit at a B, I couldn't in good conscience put any Rammstein record at a C or below, because it just felt wrong. Even though I do hold Herzeleid and Sehnsucht at this point a sneaky tier. They're sitting like there really is an invisible tier between these two, which are the first two albums and the last two albums. But and I'm fairly familiar with their self-titled, and similarly I wish that coming back would give me fresh ears. It's got plenty of earworms, and plenty of classics that I when I hear them I go, yes, this feels like radio could be on Mutter.
Yeah,
I feel, and it would be well at home there.
It does feel like a celebration of their career,
and I guess that's why it's a self-titled.
Absolutely. It serves that purpose great, and I feel similarly about this as I do about Rosenrot in regards to your response. Like, I'm glad that someone's getting a significant amount out of that album. I'm glad I'm glad Gary and Beth are adoring this album. That's awesome. I feel like I get like my perfect Rammstein are those two albums. Someone else's perfect Rammstein might be self-titled or Sehnsucht or Rosenrot. You know.
Yeah.
Let's
imagine.
Look here. Imagine. Puppet is fucking incredible.
Oslo, absolutely track of the year, dude. Woo.
Yeah, Puppet is very intense in a good way. Puppet, the song was based on one of Till's poems or just short writing. It rattles my fucking bones. I love it. Yeah. Holloman Deaths feels like the perfect closer to me, but yeah, going from Puppet to two quieter tracks, then back to two loud ones, and then another wind down, Death's weird pace. Gary says Rammstein always had weird pacing on track order. It is a shame, but I've gotten used to it by this album.
It took me a few weeks of like just spinning, and I just felt like it wasn't clicking. But I'm coming around. I'm starting to. I don't know if I'm getting it or simply being an apologist for it. But, I'm willing to change for Till.
Yeah. Before he brings the fucking hammer down.
I don't know. The gears have now clicked into place, and I'm not taking a traditional approach to track order.
That'll be interesting, right. Like going forward.
That's why I'm really excited to re-look at this once I'm more familiar.
I'm excited to see if with future picks, when I pick fucking knuckle dragging shit, if you're able to like tap into that.
Maybe. Hey. I'm evolving.
You're devolving. You're devolving, dude. Join me in the soup, bro. Let's have a look here. Tundra says the ranking differences were a lot more interesting than I'd expected, but generally I agree with Luke. Most of them are B tier for me. My list is identical to Connor's, says Ethan. Hey, Ethan, how you doing? But great points. I can see and agree with Luke's perspective. Seriously, though, Auslander was track of the year.
Hell yeah.
Till put his whole pussy into Papa, dude. What the fuck? No. What does that mean, said? This one won't be 2 hours, quote. Yeah, fuck.
No. It's okay. We're only at an hour and 30.
Hour and a half. It's fine. There's a live clip of Papa with a giant flaming pram. I mean, what's not to love? That does sound sick. Yeah. All right, well, those are our rankings, chat. So let's get that poll going and you'll vote. The question, of course, is Connor or Luke. I'll put
my heart on the line here and my belt.
Yeah. This is
my two most prized possessions.
Really interesting. It sounds like. Because I was worried that going into this one we'd have a lot less to say and that
we'd be very similar.
We'd be very similar in terms of our pick, but we'd come away with.
I wasn't expecting this much growth in
the case of Entish Kari, you came away going, I'm less of an Entish Kari fan.
True, than when I entered.
In terms of Devin Townsend, I came away from that going, oh my god, there's this world of music I'm excited to explore, and this creator who is new to me, who I am really crushing on as a creative, and have continued to do so. I've gone down the Debbie hole, fucking loving it.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
I was expecting Rammstein to be Rob Zombie 2. In that it was material I could happily consume and be brain off music, and just to have a good party time with, and not be too detailed.
Yeah, sure.
Or find it too engaging. Like there's a bit of a barrier there between us, but I enjoy being a casual listener. This is my Devon Townsend right now. I don't know if that's going to stay. We'll find out in time to come. But this is Rammstein's been in front of my face for 25 years, and I've always been a casual listener and had great emotional response from certain tracks, certain albums. But I'm about to. I feel myself. I think I've just fallen off the precipice.
Cool.
Yeah, and I just simply did not expect to be even close to it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Fuck
that's wild.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think I've come away from this certainly with a greater appreciation of Rammstein as a whole, and would consider them a favorite band of mine now. I was glad to kind of rediscover that love, or that Liebe for Liebe Ist Fur Alle. Yeah, really fucking stoked. Excited to revisit Rosenrot eventually with your thoughts in mind, and see if I pick up something.
And I'll do the same for Liebe Ist Fur Alle.
Excellent.
Could not have expected the first few albums to be so consistent in terms of their career sound and their branding, and to not feel so aged. Sehnsucht has properties I wish could be remastered, but Herzeleid, amazing. I think that's probably a wrap on what we have to say.
Absolutely. Well, let's see what chat thinks before this poll roll wraps up.
Yeah.
I'm torn here. Man, I wish I was here for when Rosenrot, the Rosenrot tactical nuke dropped. Gary says, I'm torn.
Dude,
both of you have fantastic points. Well, hey, look at that.
You didn't.
Mine!
No!
Mine! Fuck yeah,
that's okay.
dude. Your boy's taking home the belt.
That's all right. That's all right.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, chat.
I have my own version of Rammstein to take home with me.
I thought you were going to say, I have my own belt.
I have
a bigger belt at home.
Yeah.
Let's have a look here. Just catching up on chat. Clarifying says it means he put a lot of effort for extremely good results. Thus, he put his pussy into the yelling in poopy. Okay, I'm still confused, but fine. Sehnsucht and Mutter are two top albums for me, says Jordal. Haven't really given the others much of a listen. Encourage you to do so. Beth says, you've made me want to go through the older albums again and see what 2021 Beth feels. Dude, please.
Yeah, truly.
If you get the time to do so, let us know. We would love to hear how your rankings sit after a...
Yeah, and chat, we'd love for you to play along. Listen. You can hop into our Discord and post your own tiers.
Yeah,
I'd love to see what everyone has to say. On this one, I think everyone could have some experience with a discography.
Adam also says, can we shout out their cover of Depeche Mode's Strip?
Yes, we can. My lord. Woohoo.
Says, even David Gunn said it's a banger and he fucking hates Depeche Mode covers. That's good.
Yeah, their version of Stripped is, or at least was, one of my favourites Rammstein tracks. I love Depeche Mode covers in general. Metal takes on Depeche Mode, they seem to often be very successful. I think they're a very easily adaptable band to a heavy sphere. And yeah, come with me into the trees. It
yes,
took me the chills. Yeah,
all right. How are you following this up? How are you gonna strike back? How are you gonna attempt to win this fucking thing back?
With ease and great aplomb, of course.
Of course.
Well, I feel that we've been doing this for a while, Cons. We've been we have been streaming TDF on the Twitch platform for a while, and I think it's only fair that the kings come for their teeth. Of course, I speak of the kings of streaming themselves.
No,
it's time for Trivium, baby.
Oh my god.
We're doing it!
Holy fuck!
We're
Holy
doing
fuck.
it!
Okay, yeah.
I didn't know if we'd ever do it.
And this is going to be interesting.
We're heading to it together over the next fortnight.
Yeah.
I was thinking we need a band for the road. Something that we can really lean into. Something in our wheelhouse that we are both quite intimate with. And I don't want to be doing any homework on tour.
No.
And I think this is one we can really beat our just bash heads with.
Yeah.
Both quite passionately.
or alternatively, beat cocks with, dude.
Or beat each other.
We'll see.
Yeah,
We'll see
find out
what the rankings end up being.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, Trivium, cool. That's gonna be fun.
Yeah, this has been one I didn't know if we'd ever go to because it's such a there are certain bands that we've actively avoided because we both love them, and it might be a big jerk off session, such as Trivium, Lamb of God, maybe Machine Head, like old like high school sweetheart.
That like mid 2000s, mid to late 2000s, like the new wave of American heavy metal as it was kind of dubbed as it was coming out. Yes.
Yeah. But I'm opening the floodgates.
Fuck yeah, dude. Let's do it.
Today I just went, let's do it.
Yeah. I couldn't have. I was like, where are we going with this? When you said, bring it home, doing this for a while. There were two other bands I thought you were going to drop there.
Yeah.
Neither of them were Trivium. Wow. All right, cool. Fuck yeah. Keen, let the cum flow, says. Fuck yeah.
Thank you.
Kings are streaming. Yeah. Hey, maybe we can... we'll raid Matt Heafy after the stream and be like, I think Virgin's full of shit.
Or will we?
Anyway, that's for 2 weeks from now. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, really appreciate it. You can join us on Discord and get involved in the conversation. Otherwise, comments and stuff on YouTube on the VOD are very much appreciated. Anything else you want to say before we sign off?
Yeah. Connor, I'm coming for you! This will be mine. This will be mine. Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Have a good one.
Cheers. Much love. Stay tuned.